Hello, we're finally here. Sorry about that, everyone, and a little bit of technical difficulty there before we got going. But I'm excited to be joined back with Chad. How you doing?
Bella ciao, bella ciao. I won't sing the whole thing. I love it. I love that we finally have a song for DCL. I love that we got 3 points. I love that it's nice and sunny outside where I am. I'm feeling good. I want to talk about Everton. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing good. You're talking about nice and sunny. It's sunny, but it's cold here, which, compared to England, I guess I can't complain being in Arizona. But, it feels a little bit warmer when you have 3 points in your belly, huh?
Yeah, but what is cold? What is cold in Arizona? Cold in Arizona is like 65, right?
Well, okay. I'll say this. We turned off the heating because it's been kind of weird, but we definitely get snow where we're at since we're a bit elevated away from the main city. So
Okay.
it can be kind of muddy, frozen mud, melts again, snow, sleet, hail, that kind of deal. But compared to England, I think we have a pretty good weather. But it's kind of this kind of weird period where it gets really hot, really cold. It'll snow, then it's 80 degrees or 30 or 30 Celsius, and you're like, what's going on? We came a bit late, but we've got a few people on, so welcome, Gary.
What's up, Gary? Hey, so I pulled up. I was on my phone, as you guys could see. I was doing something on my phone. 52 in Liverpool right now. 52, partly cloudy. So that sounds lovely. Still, I mean, some rain possible tonight. This is your weather report here on Follow Everton. I am your meteorologist, Chad from the United States.
The imperial system is taking over. We need Fahrenheit.
We're gonna see a storm cloud push a storm. I don't know. Whatever.
We're gonna have a map.
I'm in good spirits. I'm in good spirits. Who do we have? We have Gary on. We have Andrew on. Great seeing you as always. What's 65? Use real money.
Love that. And
Amazon. Too. Okay, great. So we have a lot of good stuff to talk about. We have an Everton win. We have a Forest loss today. We can talk about the table at some point. Where do you want to get started?
Whoops, that was accidental.
That was, you spoiled the lead on that one.
Well, spoiled it. Yeah, I know. So I guess it's up to you, but I did the watch along. It wasn't a pretty match. Dyche claimed that it was tactically meant to be uninteresting. I think that's a cop-out answer, but
Dyche said it was. I actually meant to coach this game exactly how I coach every other game. That's what Dyche said. I purposely wanted it to be as ugly as every other match that I've ever managed in my entire career.
Well, if you lose and you say that was my plan, he sounds really bad. If you win, you can almost get away with it because you can get away with pretty much anything other than being Antonio Conte on a rant.
Yeah.
If you win.
Hey, Andrew, I love this. Andrew, let's pull this quote up, but I want to put a pin in this because I've never agreed with anything more in my entire life, but I don't want to sour on the 3 points. We did get a much needed win in 2024, but I want to get back to that because I can't echo that strongly enough. But you know what? I viewed this match in 2 different ways. And when I did my rewatch, I did it all the way up to the red, the Burnley red, because I didn't think there was anything to learn after from that point on. Burnley was wide open. It seemed like we were pushing for a second goal. Wanted it to get it out. Wanted it to, I don't know, feel a little more comfortable and instead of holding on to a 1-0. It was still very nervy on some corners, I will say, when it was 1-0. Yeah. So I didn't, you know what? I only watched up till the red. There was a few things to like. There was a lot of things there to not like. I did feel like we were the better side throughout. Minus a couple moments. What was your overall feeling, Chris, as you were watching it? Did you feel like we were the better side? Did you feel like it was inevitable we were going to get a goal and potentially win?
So we played slightly better. They tried to play better football, but they weren't really good at it. They had a couple moments where they were okay on their wing play, but they gave the ball up a lot. A bit like us, where we're committed to playing it safe. They're committed to taking risks, but we're slightly better organized. And we didn't make sloppy mistakes today at the back, and they did.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I
the
think you
keeper
could
was
probably
not
sum it up
able.
by saying, like, they were just more dog shit than we are. Am I allo I
Yeah.
did I swear, I cussed, I apologize.
So
But
so
that's the truth,
there's a
and that's the most honest assessment that we can have. We were dreadful, they were more dreadful,
yeah.
and we somehow got a lucky break, but I think it was still a well-deserved
Yeah.
3 points.
Well, we also had a few touches of class and effort that I think really helped us yesterday. DCL having confidence back means a whole lot, and he really ran his socks off. If you're going to give an effort award for yesterday, Dwight McNeil absolutely deserved that one, and
Yeah.
Andre Gomez for being a classy, better than everywhere else on the pitch with football brain and intelligence. He stood out drastically compared to his partner in crime of James Garner yesterday. And I've got some annotations we can go over a little bit later on some of how they interacted, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, let's do it.
Um,
I think we certainly did see some really nice performances. I thought it was an inspired effort out of McNeil. He looked like the old Dwight again. We'll
mhm,
talk about what they were doing with him from a tactical standpoint. It seemed like Dyche wanted to get him out of that left corner a little bit. Everybody in the world knows that when Dwight McNeil lines up for Everton, he wants to push it left and get crosses in off his left foot. They've taken that away from him for the most part. So Dyche is trying to be a little bit more creative in how he uses Dwight, and then we saw
mhm.
him really working again. It was funny. I think the moment that really showcases and emphasizes what Dwight was yesterday was that moment around the 70th minute mark or something, where he literally ran all over
Yeah,
from end to end of the pitch. But I loved it. I think, I think the entire stadium nearly stood up and clapped him at that point. But
yeah.
you almost wonder, how irresponsible is that? Because what is he doing to our defensive shape in that moment where
Well, I guess the question is, they were down to 10 men. Everyone else was in position, and he was just running. And it's like, keep going, son. You can do it. We'll clap for you. And it was, I really felt that in like that inspiration. Yeah, because they were down to 10 men, and everyone else was playing around in the back. He was the one doing the doggies, as you would say, like the when you go back
yeah.
and forth to the cones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but inspired. It was nice to see Dwight play like that again. He was playing with confidence. DCL, I thought, was really wonderful. He's never going to be a perfect number 9 for us, but I can't fault his effort at all. And
no,
he was able to get a goal just by being thoughtful, by being aware. I thought the most interesting moment I saw in the rewatch was maybe
mhm,
around the 14th minute or so, was the exact same thing that led to our goal nearly happened before. So it was maybe around the 14th minute. Who's their keeper's name? It's escaping me. Mitch
oh,
Misochid something.
I should know this. I was saying it all game. Let me pull it up
Yeah,
real quick.
it
It
was the
was
exact same thing.
Murich.
Mirich. It was the exact same thing that led to the goal previously. Kept it on his foot way too long. DCL nearly caught it
Mhm.
there. You could hear the crowd groan like, "Oh, so close!"
Yeah.
And he was way too lackadaisical on the ball, and it led to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, pacing himself, running at him sneakily almost. It wasn't a full
Mhm.
out press at the moment, but he saw that the keeper wanted to keep it on his right foot. He
Mhm.
approached from the keeper's
Yep.
right, really took the angle away from him, and was able to
Mhm.
flick his leg out at just the right time. And we had said, I think in the post match last week against it was Bournemouth, right? No, against Newcastle. That if Everton didn't have bad luck, we wouldn't have any luck at all. But this
Mhm.
was the one. This was the one outlier in
Yeah.
our existence of poor luck, is that it actually found the back of the net, and we were able to get that 1-0 lead.
Yeah, and the funny part with that too, like you say bad luck, and I did some video review of that goal as well, but yeah, it's a component of effort, but when it comes to pressing and trap, I think I'm not sure if this analogy is fair, but it's a bit like poker. If you go all in and you mean it, or you bluff all the time, then they know how to anticipate when they're going to press. So DCL putting the keeper into a false sense of security
Mhm.
is that springing the trap, where a lot of certain players, and I think James Garner are guilty of this, he can only go one way. Oh, looks like we have a third cast member.
Oh, we got.
Hel-
Come on, Ryan. Oh, he checked out.
Well, he can come on if he wants, but
Come on, Ryan.
is he
I
setting up?
would.
Is he checking his hair in the background? It's hard to tell, but
Yeah, I was really pleased with DCL. I'm glad he got his goal. I thought it was long overdue. We know that Harrison stole one from him earlier in the season. He had a couple that should have gone his way. There was one point where he cut in. I think he had it on the right, cut in to on his left, nearly put that in. So I thought it was an inspired effort out of him. And then Beto's minutes were fine. Oh, there he is. How you doing, mate?
Hello. Sorry I'm late.
No, all good.
I wanted to drop in at the start, but I got dragged away on impossible urgent matters. So sorry I'm late to the party.
No.
sounds like it was Mission Impossible.
Yeah, I'm going to watch back, obviously. I'm going to watch this, your first 30 minutes, is it? Oh, 11 minutes 44, thankfully. So, yeah, I'll watch that back.
Yeah.
Sends
So,
me to
Ryan,
sleep
you were in the
normally.
crowd yesterday, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really boring. My 4-year-old my 4-year-old nephew went to his first Everton game. My brother Steve, he was insistent on taking him. They were sat below pitch level in the corner of the family enclosure, level with the park end, and it's bad enough sitting there where you can actually see the match where I am in the park end 3/4 of the way up. Never mind being below pitch level in the corner. So God knows how that experience went for them. But for me, so much. I'm really sure you're going to touch upon this, Chris, with your wonderful tactical analysis. But there was so little to like about that performance that even despite the result, I wanted to boo the team at the end. And I mean that with
the last 20
genuinely.
minutes in particular, like they were just, no one could run anymore. They were tired, and they said, "You know what, Burnley, you come at us. We're not even going to try to run forward and take this game on." And we just got over the line.
Yeah. Could have had a pen though. Could have had two. I mean, it very well could have been 3-0. Oh, you don't agree? I thought Everton. It seemed like the consensus opinion was that Beto should have at least gotten it or at least a free kick outside the box should have gotten it for his breakaway.
Yeah, and I've probably talked about this enough on air, Ryan. What did you think of that one?
Yeah, since you're hosting, I'll just answer the questions. If you're talking about the better one, I mean, I'm the other end of the I was the other end of the stadium, and I thought, what the hell are you doing? You're literally being sent through 1v1. This is literally like the bread and butter of centre forward play. Through on goal, 1v1, just the goalkeeper to slot past. We don't play professional football, but I imagine that goal, what is it, 12 foot wide? It's absolutely humongous. You're sent through 1v1 and stay on your feet. It didn't look like there was enough contact to go down. I know you can argue it's a foul, but this guy is a 6'4", built like a boxer. Go through it. I've seen him. You remember the Newcastle goal he scored when he ran through and he had Dan Burn or someone quite physical trying to knock, and he stayed on his feet. He's got it in him. So for me, it's a dive, but also a foul, and that is a bit of a strange oxymoron. But there's quite a few like that. If you look at the Garnacho penalty at Everton, it's a dive, but it's a foul at the same time.
Yeah. Well, James Garner's was more of a penalty if he had to give one to me than Beto's.
Yeah, agreed. But I can understand the Beto one seemed more obvious to me. If you're viewing it live, if you're the referee and you're chasing the play, you see Beto has his man beat, and there's clear contact in his back. So to me, like if I'm a referee and I'm looking at that live, then I think the Beto call is easier to make. The Garner one, I can understand if you don't have a great angle of it. Maybe you're not sure if there's contact or not. But one of those had to be given, and it's Everton. Like we have a comment here, if the Shite can get a pen for that today, Beto's was a pen, and we completely agree that DCL should have gotten a pen weeks ago. And it's Liverpool week after week after week get those calls. Yeah, Liverpool get those calls week after week after week, and certainly not Everton. But we live and learn.
Do we need to see that live on a Follow Everton stream? Your two cats,
Meowsers.
Yeah, the cats are more interesting. Not again.
Well,
The cats,
yeah,
the
James
cats are more
Garner runs
interesting
around
than
like a crazed cat.
showing me a picture.
The most amusing thing is we were watching, Chris and I were watching the game here on Peacock in the States. And every time, and I think it's the same feed that you guys have in the UK, but every time they would cut to the crowd, the Everton crowd, it was this.
Or it's this. It's like trying to squint and see through the lights.
Yes.
I was
They look
on
so
edge.
good.
The sun.
I was very aggressive, very angry. I remember standing up. They've got 10 men, but we've got 7. And there was one point where Young it's just tragic, isn't it? Watching him play, absolutely tragic. Like, Dyche, get him off! You've got 5 substitutions.
Yeah.
I'm not paying to sit and watch this. Honest to God, I was ready to explode. I don't know how deep you've gone into the analysis, but the football was slow and predictable and turgid. We never looked like scoring. Burnley have got these wingers who look like Ronaldinho and Kaka in the prime. They were just like buzzing around with pace and energy and like pitiful, honest to God. There was nothing. There's nothing positive for me to say about that performance other than the fact we did keep a clean sheet.
Well, I mean, Branthwaite was the best player on the pitch by
there was little
a
things.
million miles.
It was effort. It was not always clinical. Gomez, I don't think you can fault him other than not being faster. There's a couple really clever examples where his class on the ball and ability to create space is so drastically different than James Garner. And I was going to go over that. They seem to get scoring chances every time we gave away a sloppy. Like, it was only in transition, even if they have some potentially good players in the future, like Assignon, I think is his name, could be really good in the future, but he wasn't converting going forward. But he was really progressive up that pitch as their fullback. Maybe we pluck him out for a cheap buy if Burnley go down. But I think he was on loan from Montpellier or something, so he might not be available.
Yeah, I've got a few. I didn't get on the post match yesterday, but I would have loved to have had some, had my say on it. Overall, it's such a poor performance at home against 10 men, who are a team below us, who we've already beaten twice. For me, I don't see it in a positive way, and I think I was ready to boo, as I say, and I've had enough of Sean Dyche. I truly, genuinely have. I mean, he came out in the post-match interview and said his plan was to make it ugly and dirty for them and go long and all this sort of stuff. But if you look at how when we play the long ball, it's often not on. You're playing it long to one player. Everyone's quite spread out rather than compact, waiting for that second ball. And the chances are it gets turned over, and what Burnley wanted to do is kind of like what Liverpool wanted to do to Man United today, which was let you bring it out, do nothing with it, lose it, and then they'll run up the other end and try and score.
Yeah.
Obviously, Burnley haven't got the threat of Liverpool, who were unbelievable today, but it was quite pitiful. A few things that stood out for me was Mikalenko often getting bullied, Seamus Coleman often getting bullied, not being able to really utilize the home advantage to get forward into advanced positions and stay in advanced positions. Branthwaite was unbelievable. The midfield pairing, James Garner, I also thought was anonymous, barely touching the ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Andre
he ran
Gomez,
around a lot and chased, but he didn't get the ball. Yeah.
He never looked. James Garner just didn't look involved. And then all of a sudden, you'd see him make a mad sprint and like run over to cover space. And like, where the hell have you been? You've not touched the ball for 15 minutes. I've touched it more, and I'm certain to stand. Then there was Andre Gomez. You're right, Chris. His passing range is better. He's got more control and awareness of what he's doing. The only thing that lets him down is speed. When he was on a yellow card, I'm sat there screaming in the crowd, going, "Careful, Gomez!" Almost want him to be changed because he wants to win the ball back, and he's so eager, and he's got that tenacity. I almost really do want to give him a new contract on realistic wages because he's got something none of the others have got that I think we won't be able to replace. And
cut his salary in half or incentivize for performance and matching. That'd be perfect.
He's got great hair. Like I could just stare at that man's hair and beard combination. I'd like re-sign him just for the hair. Can we it doesn't move either. It's over to I don't know how he does it. He's
got minoxidil and he's doing something to keep his hair.
I envy him just for that. Hey Ryan, can we show? So Chris, I asked you to tee up a clip that was at just 1:15, right when it
I know
kicked
you're
off.
going to do the clips. I just want to very quickly just whiz on my final thoughts in terms
sure.
of my match reaction. Is that okay? Just very quickly before you go into
Yeah.
technicals. So the other two that I wanted to talk about, Dwight McNeil didn't turn up for 45 minutes. He's a winger. He's not getting goals and assists. He's not creating chances. He's not crossing from right areas. The combination play is lacking. He's drifting in. He's not cutting it for me. Ashley Young, absolutely horrendous. I'm not quite sure he's playing wide right. Your responsibilities are get in on the back post, get on the edge of the box to shoot, get the ball down, beat a defender 1v1 and cross the ball into good areas. He's doing none of that. And actually, to compound it, he's doing what Jack Harrison does, which is give the ball away unenforced, cheaply, with very poor panic play. And then Calvert-Lewin again. I know people are saying he had a good game. He did because he scored. If he doesn't score that game, everyone's on his back saying he had a poor game, because what his focus and his attention is to be the battering ram, to be the out ball that I don't think Burnley had and needed when they were taking the goal kick and trying to go long. Calvert-Lewin for us was the one who can hold the ball or just disrupt the defenders. Whereas actually, I'd just love to see him get in better positions to score and anticipate the crosses better, because he doesn't get in the right positions. He's always too slow to react to everything, and that's a feature of Everton's play. Moving on.
So
Yeah,
So,
the
but like,
crosses
let's say
were. How many good crosses were there in that game? Though I can maybe think of two.
Always overhit. So why is that? You know, this is the thing. Watch Liverpool today, the Liverpool match. I don't want to harp on about them, but sorry, actually, this mention the Spurs game for context. Okay, the two players for Spurs that scored were Pedro Porro, I think is their right back, and Van der Ven, who's this left-sided centre back. So because what they are doing, and it's sort of like what we did under Martinez, was all the wingers and midfielders who are on threat on paper are being marked and picked up. The fullbacks and the defenders who you're not expecting to come in, the Colemans and the Baineses, were coming in at the back post and getting goals and chipping in. And then if they weren't, they were pulling it back. And two things that I noticed today, and this is what makes me so angry to support Everton right now, when you look at other teams and what they've got. Liverpool, the crosses are always cut back. So they look like they're going to cross in front of the defender. We play into areas where the centre-backs have got an advantage. They are facing the ball. They are facing away from their goal. They can head it away. Liverpool are playing behind the defence where they're not expecting, where it's really difficult. I'm mixing up the crosses, whereas they're so predictable. And the Spurs fullback scoring and the Spurs fullbacks getting forward. That's what I'm saying. We're overhitting the cross. Why is Mikalenko not in on that back stick? Why is Seamus Coleman not in the box on that back stick? It's because Dyche sets this team up to be so negative. And it was okay up to a point. But we're at home to Burnley in the bottom three with 10 men. And it's inexplicable. I'm sorry. I won't be convinced otherwise.
I don't think we could even try. The side is effectively broken. And I think we're just trying to hang on. Right. We just want to make it through this season. We want to stay up. There has to be a major reformulation of the squad in the offseason. We have to figure out who our manager is going to be, because I don't think it's going to be Sean Dyche. We have to figure out what our roster is going to look like, because there's going to have to be a fire sale. I would love
to.
And
we need finances and someone in control of the finances to make those calls first.
Yeah, absolutely. And there seems to be now some negative talk about Kevin Thelwell.
You've got to say that Kevin Thelwell's had an absolutely shocking summer transfer window when he signed Ashley Young, who's been absolutely tragic. I'm sorry, I know you gave him some praise in last game, but he is terrible. I don't know what standards you're judging him by, but he's playing in the wing. He was awful at left back. He's awful at right wing. Then you've got Beto, who for some make your mind up. He's got 5 goals and or something like 5 goals and 2 assists in 1,000 minutes. But then he's going 1v1, he's not staying on his feet and all this sort of stuff. And you're looking at him and thinking, this guy should be doing better. Is this the coaching or is this the player? And was he the right player? Chimiti for the future. Well, we don't need any effing players for the future. You know, the academies, we've made that perfectly clear, because we're not signing what Liverpool are doing and bringing in the best 15 and 16-year-olds in the championship academies and bringing them in, developing them, giving them that extra Premier League quality and bringing them into your first team. We're not doing that. We've written off the youth in terms of that. So I don't care about Chimiti. He's not proven to be a good signing. He's not scored a goal for us. He's not made any appearances. And then you've got Jack Harrison, who for me is absolutely bloody awful. And then I can't think of the other players, but Dan Juma's not made an impact as well. So the window's been awful. He's got to get criticism.
Yeah,
It's a shocking window.
Yeah, it is a shocking window. The only thing we can say is he's been severely handcuffed. Dan Juma is a loan that they had to pay $3 million for. Jack Harrison is a loan, so he's essentially on a free for this year. And then we know the constraints that they are working under for the signing of Beto and Trimidi. They paid nothing up front for either of those contracts. My frustration is that the people that we let walk out the door that could be really useful for us right now. Nathan Broadhead is one of the best midfielders in the championship right now. I think we could use him.
Is he a striker with Ipswich, or is he a midfielder?
Is he a striker? I thought he was a high midfielder.
Okay, well, I thought that they've been playing him as a striker recently, but maybe I'm wrong.
Regardless, he could walk into our
Needed
side.
him on the bench yesterday.
Yeah,
I mean, you're looking at fresh legs. They're absolutely desperately. There's a big gap between the Championship, though, Chad, and the Prem.
They're severely. Just as there is in Serie A and the Premier League, as we see with Beto. Ellis Sims should be in this squad right now. We sold him for £8 million and purchased.
I'm going to say something on that, though. You made a really big comment, a really bold statement about Beto. But the chances Beto has had, you score at any level, whether it's Serie A, League One, or League Two. He's missing the header at Fulham 1 yard out. He's going to score it. It doesn't matter what league you're in. If you hit the net, you score. The chance today, 1v1, you score that at any level. The striker's running through on goal against the goalie. Any decent player scores that. Yeah. So I don't think the jump matters. I think he's doing all of the hard part. He's just not able to score. And for me, that I'm pinning that down to, I think the coaching's horrendous, because obviously the signings on paper in the summer, you could argue were good signings at the time. We all said a fantastic business, wonderful. So I'm putting some of it down to the coaching, and I'm also doing some of it down to the mentality of you're trying too hard to make an impact and impose yourself. And that's why his finishing is so erratic. He's so desperate to do something that he almost tries too hard. And I think the problem, and I know you'll get the screenshots and stuff, is Everton need a striker coach 100%. They lost Duncan Ferguson. They've now got no one who's working with the front players. Sean Dyche was a centre half. He's got his Bezzy mates from the Nottingham Forest days on the coaching staff. And we need some fresh ideas, because you can only tolerate this for so long. This is over a year of just this whack it down, play for position, win the second ball, and then try it. I want to swear, it's fucking tragic. You know what I mean? It's just, you're paying a fortune. You're emotionally invested. And I said to my brother David Basil on the channel, I said to him before, I said, look at Liverpool, look at Man United and Liverpool. Man United were tragic, and look at Spurs, and you're like, I swear to God, if I wasn't doing this Everton channel, I wouldn't be watching Everton. I'd cut myself off, because they are pits of misery. And it gets to the point where the football's dreadful, but it doesn't even matter what's going on the pitch, because it's all going to be decided by a bunch of poncy people, going to say tomorrow, well, let's have a look. Well, should we give them 4 points? Well, why don't we give them 3 points? Well, let's make it look like we were trying to be nice. So let's give them just 2 points. Keep them just out the rally. It's almost like, what's the point? It doesn't matter what we do, because it doesn't matter what we do on the pitch. It's all going to get dictated to. And the thing that's going to piss me off, and I know I've completely wrecked your show and I've gone on a tandem, but I'm so itchy to speak, is tomorrow, let's say we get a points deduction, right? Okay. Worst case scenario. I don't think we will. I think we'll get suspended, hopefully, or a fine. I think they have to. I don't think you can do 2 in 2 seasons and double jeopardy. I think it's too messy. But let's say they gave us a 4-point deduction, and that was the difference between Everton getting relegated from this league and staying up. We lose hundreds of millions of pounds in the club value. And that's not sustainable. So what you're telling me is that you want us to create a sustainable environment for teams. Okay, let's say we don't get relegated. Let's say that's the difference between 14th and 17th. And each place is worth 2 million, I think, or something like that. 14, 15, 16, 17, 4 times 2, 8. Let's say we lose another 10 million. We're quibbling over, what was it, 20 million or something? There's 10 there. You're knocking another 10 off, and then let's say we miss out on profit sustainability by 10 million. or 15 million. Well, you're literally just passing over problem to problem over problem. And what you're trying to create is a sustainable competitive environment. And all you're doing is hindering it. It's the whole thing stinks. Anyway, get the screenshots on.
Yeah.
It basically becomes a high interest loan that you can never get out of, and it just gets worse and worse. So you're slightly in debt to the Premier League by making mistakes, and it just compounds and you can't pay off, and you just get further and further behind. But that's why points deductions it's so sneaky, because that's just one win, but that's all relative to how the league is brought up. But I forget exactly per year what that breakdown is, but every position is like 10, 20 mil at the end of the year. So you're deducting a position and it's like double, because now you're applying the points that you would have got for that deduction. And if you get relegated, as you're saying, you're in more trouble.
Yeah, it's a fine on top of it. Even if they don't call it a fine, it's still a fine at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But let's move to the clip, because I think, Ryan, a lot of the complaints that you have about Sean Dyche's approach and what we saw on the pitch yesterday are summed up in about a 30-second span that we saw at the minute 15 mark. And it just jumped out to me as soon as I saw it, because it was everything you could watch. All you had to do is watch this clip and you'll know exactly what Everton was about yesterday. So it was about, minute 14 here. We see, Chris, I'll let you talk about what McNeil was doing. But we see Branthwaite on the ball here, and then Miko is going to make a run upfield. And Branthwaite's distribution on this ball is fantastic. And this was something that it looked like Dyche was really trying to hammer over and over and over again, is clear that left side out and get Miko into an advanced position. Hey, I don't know what your next, so I'll let you take over here. But what I really wanted to show is, first of all, Branthwaite's class in this distribution. He was fantastic all day. And then the resulting, the aftermath of this is where we directly see a Jordan Pickford long ball trying to win a second ball, and then a terrible cross in by Ashley Young. So I thought this part of the game, this moment in time, really encapsulated everything that we saw yesterday.
Yeah. Then I'm not sure I have the Ashley Young aspect, because that was going to be more annotations that I was looking for. But
we don't need to see that part again.
Yeah, some of the poor, like showing how poor a cross isn't as useful when unless you're doing a true video. So this was McNeil today, or I think the last two games actually. It seems to be the goal to push him, make him come to the center, kind of as a number 10 that meanders, and it allows for Mykolenko to have more space, because they end up in the same position on top of each other a lot. And it seems that this has allowed Mykolenko to have more advancing runs. He's higher up on the heat map, and he actually was okay, not excellent, but he was crossing in reasonable areas today, because they pulled a lot of players away from that side and gave him a free advancing run, because he doesn't know how to overlap, but he knows how to run forward if no one's in his way. So at this position here at like 1 minute 14, I think it had been swapped over to Branthwaite. He's looking for passing options. And McNeil was up in like right next to DCL, sort of as that number 10 option, but realizing that he wanted to create play on that left-hand side, he pulls the right fullback in Assignon and gets him to cover. So I've got this dash line where he's basically running directly at Branthwaite to pull the defenders out of position. And I forget the player next to Mykolenko on their right side right now. I think it may have been Fofana, but he's starting to notice that Mykolenko is about to make a run. Branthwaite's still looking for options. Right after that,
But Chris, let me stop you there. So if you're going to move, you could see how heavily we are pushed to the right, with the exception of Mykolenko's run. You're going to do that for either two reasons. You're going to try to clear space, obviously, for Miko to run into something, or you're going to try to play it into the crowd to win a second ball. And I think we saw a lot of that throughout the entire course of the game.
Yeah, spot on.
So, and again, I think the heat map was very much on that right-hand side, and then it was a lot of switch of play to the open field on this side. And a lot of the problems were actually about not McNeil's effort, not the fact that he wasn't running around, but if you want him to be a winger, he wasn't playing as a winger. He was intentionally creating space for Mykolenko to be wide, but because McNeil's a better crosser of the ball, having him in the middle, you're then sacrificing his distribution. But what you're also doing is he stood out to me a lot more than Doucouré for at least providing options in the middle and wasn't able to pass as well. But this example here, he's now stopped his run. He's pulled Assignon exactly where he wanted him to. And at the exact point of the pass now, there's a whole wide open lane for Mykolenko to go. He's starting to run, and McNeil's pointing for him where to go. So then the next thing is that cross was really effectively passed over. I'm not sure where that. Oh, sorry. Our faces are covering the. There we go. So Mykolenko is going to run to that position with the ball, where the ball is going to end up on that wing side, and if he can get there in time and cross, there's actually players at the back post. The problem is he isn't actually fast enough. They've got much faster and pacier fullbacks. So although the idea was to create space, it doesn't work because Mykolenko didn't have the leg speed to get there and bring out that early cross. But the idea, and this is what you notice with a lot of the Dyche ball play, is you'll have a center half do a switch to the unpopulated side, but we don't have the pace of fullback to pull it off. Mykolenko made the effort, but he ends up getting tackled before he can actually release the ball, and it goes out for a throw in right here. So
why
I
are
just
there
thought it
only
was
two
interesting.
Everton players busting a gut in that moment? You know, surely the minute you see the opportunity of Mykolenko going through, that is the trigger for. You saw it with Liverpool. I hate to harp on about them, but Liverpool today, the minute they would be in this position, you'd have 4 or 5 players determined to create an overload on that turnover, because you've got Burnley running back towards their own goal. So that should be enough to say, right, get that extra man, and then you can't deal with 2, because there you've got 2 Burnley, you've got 3. They can deal with that situation. But if you bring in, if you're running and you're anticipating that.
Yeah, this is where I don't expect Gomez to be in that position, but this is where James Garner, who is faster by foot, should be charging forward in these opportunities. But the reality here, Ryan, which is why maybe they don't, is if they do run forward and then Garner's out of position, because guess what? You have Mykolenko isn't there in time, and it's a turnover, and now everyone's out of position, and that's when Burnley had most of their scoring opportunities. So you're committing, but when is it right to commit? This should be the opportunity, but it failed because Mykolenko couldn't get there fast enough. So it looked like and I was trying to see on the next slides here. Unfortunately, the camera zoomed in on Mykolenko, so they couldn't show where Everton players right out of the picture, maybe, but it was really hard to capture that from the cameras. But the problem was that Mykolenko, although all effort and attempt aside, didn't have the pace that the recovery pace of the Burnley player did here. So again, in a sense, not good enough to, and that was the one thing Burnley did have, is they had quite a pacey backline. They would give the ball away a lot. So that's what kind of became tricky. They give the ball away, and then Everton are a bit too slow, not good enough at passing, not taking the risk, and then they would recover it back a lot. So it just became this game of, I call it the aerial ping pong, but it's not. There's a little bit more detail than that, but really it's just a bunch of turnovers because Everton win the ball, but they can't do anything with it because they're not fast enough up front. And Burnley had better recovery pace with their young squad.
Yeah, we had 0 pace coming from anywhere across the front 3 and at fullback or midfield. That is a worry. You know, there's things at this level that cause you problem. It's your tempo of play, and the pace of the individual. There's a difference. Neither are we capable of doing. Now, what are we seeing in this next one?
So this next one, what I wanted to, this was and I'm trying to get our faces, get all of our, that'll work. So you've probably noticed this as well, Ryan. We really struggle with throw-ins, and a lot of the Dyche, a cross-field pass, win the ball up the field, and then what do you do with it? So I thought the fact that Seamus Coleman is now on that right side, which is highlighted in the blue there, he knows how to create little pieces of space. And the other person who really exemplifies like a maturity and understanding of seeing 2 steps ahead is Andre Gomez. So at this point, there's no opportunity from where you look at the Burnley players to create that space. Now, James Garner, I don't know if this was intentional or just luck of him being really enthusiastic. He starts running forward in a kind of right where between Doucouré and Ashley Young. So what you'll see on this next one is James Garner starting to. He hasn't started running yet, but the Burnley players have started to migrate out of position, and Andre Gomez is intentionally not busting a gut to go into that space. He's kind of walking, watching that space develop as everyone else is running around and being frantic and reacting. He's noticing the space as a result of everyone else kind of just being very reactive at that point. So what we got a second later is James Garner now starts running back towards the ball, and Gomez is now because Garner went left and then spun around again. He's now running into the space that he shouldn't have needed to run into, because that was a creative play that Andre Gomez now has the ability to get on the ball. And there's a lot of space now being generated by being patient for a couple seconds. And I'm not seeing that type of awareness from the other Everton midfielders generally. So I thought that was quite interesting. And the next step, now we have James Garner again stopping and realizing he's in Gomez's space. Gomez does a really clever backheel into that space, allowing James Garner to actually have a ball in transition and run forward. And then the classic Everton problem is, what does James Garner do on the ball? He now has it right here. So the ball's right on his right foot, and instead of taking a touch, holding up and looking for options, he just immediately flicks it off his right foot in a rush and tries to get it to Doucouré when there's three people marking him, and then it just causes a turnover. So like, Gomez knows exactly what he's trying to do to manufacture space. He's got composure. He can create little pockets, and James Garner is kind of reacting without being 2 steps ahead, and just instinctively trying to flick it on without slowing down the game. And it's one of those examples, and partly why we say James Garner sometimes struggles to play with others. It's because he occupy the same space without realizing where you are in the pitch. But in this case, James Garner didn't capture at that time what Gomez was doing, but Gomez was instinctively able to manufacture the pass. And then what does James Garner do? He has the ball. They're all flat-footed. He could take a touch and look. And I think McNeil's actually off the screen behind Doucouré, and he doesn't utilize him. So it's like really promising little pieces of class, not executed, and all of a sudden Everton are on the back foot, and all of the players, and then we're just going, "You're professional footballers. What are you doing?"
But you just kept up the whole season, Chris. That was the whole season. Little pieces of class around a bunch of
lack
garbage.
Of composure, not thinking critically, and we can't score because. But yeah, Ryan, what are your thoughts on this one?
Chad, that's so funny. Little pieces of glass around a bunch of garbage. That was like my mum's dinners.
I hope she's not watching.
No, you'd have like 2 nice fish fingers and then a load of undercooked veg, anemic chips. There's not a lot to say apart from he's eager to get involved on Garner, and sometimes he's a bit of a headless chicken. I think he's very good tactically at covering space defensively, but then I'm looking for more contribution going forward.
Yeah, I love him. I love him pressing. We've had a couple goals result directly from him pressing and turning the opponent over. But that's so funny that you said, Ryan, that he was anonymous, because I texted Chris earlier today that he was invisible, completely invisible.
Right,
there were minutes on end where I had no idea he was even on the pitch. And we just can't have that in the midfield. And what my frustration is that we hear an awful lot about Amadou Onana is I wish he would take the game by the scruff of the neck. But we don't hear any of that when it comes to James Garner. And I understand, we bought Amadou Onana for 35 million pounds or whatever that number was. And James Garner was essentially, dirt cheap coming over from Manchester United. But regardless, they are playing in the same position in the midfield on a team that's desperate for playmaking, and we are not getting it out of him, really only if he's able to do something out of the press and turning a team over.
With James Garner there, I just think he seemed, if I remember, I was looking at him and he looked like he was getting really wound up and frustrated that they was not passing to him. But I also think he doesn't find the areas to maybe, if he stood in the middle and it's heavily marked with Burnley, what they were doing was trying to stop us playing through the middle, maybe drop into an area where he can get the ball, look there. The pass to him would be off, but could he drop into that right wing, right back area to allow, as you see there, Coleman to bomb on and then win the second ball or link up on that side? I think it's all with Dyche. It's the fear is Pickford loses the ball there. If Garner drops wide to make himself available and doesn't get the ball, they just turn us over in the 3v1 or 2. So he's overly cautious, and that's just the way the setup is, and it probably doesn't suit certain individuals.
Yeah. So
is this one of classic Pickford's just boot it to no one balls?
Except this is the one I didn't want to show all the ones he didn't, because I think he did 11 of 39 successful long balls today, or 11 of 43. So it was super windy. I'm not saying, I guess the real question, knowing that it was really windy, there's no chance that Pickford is going to make the passes consistently. Yeah. So either you decide, so Ryan may come back in a minute, but you either decide you're going to give the ball away a lot, but at least you're kicking it up the pitch and hoping for a turnover because of kind of the second ball and scrappiness, or you just actually naively think it's going to work the whole time. But you're I
cannot believe Dyche thinks that. I think they're hoofing it up there, thinking that we can win a second ball, get and nick a goal somehow. Is this the one, the one on the screen right now? Is this the one that I can remember that went to yes. Coleman?
It was
the one good ball, like all day from him.
Yep.
And Coleman did a great job of running under it. I think Coleman tried to get it. Coleman tried to cross it into the box, maybe even a cutback. He obviously thought he should have done better in that moment if you watched him afterwards. But one time it just is not enough to feel like this is a consistent strategy that we should pursue going forward. My general frustration is, and this is just going to be me ranting about the state of Everton under Dyche, and this cuts to that comment that I called out at the very beginning of the show, as I'm just so tired of Sean Dyche. Is it sports entertainment? Like, I want to enjoy my Saturdays when I sit down to watch this club, and watching this is not enjoyable. And Ryan, you said it, you feel almost obligated to watch this team because of this show that you've created. And I hate that for you, because we should be able to sit down and just think like, wow, I'm going to sit down and have a really enjoyable 90 minutes. That Manchester United Liverpool game today, I wanted them to both lose, but that was an enjoyable game to watch. It was entertaining, and we can't even expect entertaining out of this team, which is unfortunate. We have pieces there. We have a world-class center back who can play with both feet. We have a 6 who's capable of playing a progressive ball and finding people both at diagonals and up the middle. We have an aerial threat in Dominic Calvert-Lewin. While not perfect, there's still something there. The man scored goals under Ancelotti. And what we're left with is just this uninspired crap where it's just ball after ball going up, and by God, you hope that James Garner is able to win a second ball, volley it over to Decore, and he's able to smash one so you can win 1-0. And it's not inspiring football. It's not enjoyable to watch. And I need this season to be over. I need Sean Dyche out. And I don't care if it's Bielsa. I don't care if it's someone else, but I just need there to be a product that I feel that I'm excited to watch on my Saturdays.
Yeah, is it called a bait? Is it truly a bait and switch? Yeah, but so I'm not sure if you'd call it a bait and switch, but a lot of the Dyche tactics, it's pull the entire field to one side, cross it to a cross field to the other side. They win a header, then they knock it back into the middle when everyone's running to recover from that crossfield ball into the middle, and someone gets there first, and we happen to score. And another thing, we'll probably talk about that a bit more later, but DCL was offside a lot. Even Branthwaite today was unacceptably offside off a free kick when he could see the entire line. Decore did it as well. So there's this component of this
was the thing. This was what the crowd was. After 15 minutes, the crowd was gone. The crowd was furious. The crowd was annoyed. And it's little things like the misplaced, unenforced passes by Ashley Young, the complete lethargicism, the offside play, the aimless booting it long, compounded by not being in the right position to contest for a second ball. The fullbacks, getting bullied very, very easily and getting beaten very, very easily for pace. Loads of things. Just the crowd goes against them. And the crowd was so flat. It was so quiet for long spells in that game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I did want to just at least highlight the rare time it did work out, but
The one time.
some of this stuff you've shown us is quite positive. That maybe the idea is there, but the execution isn't there. But
that's been it.
overall,
Except
there's
for why do this when it kept failing. That's the problem.
no strategy. No strategy
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Because what it seemed like here was they were trying. They did a classic. Everyone passes it back to their next person in line to Pickford, who's in a relatively, and that's the thing. He was in an advanced position compared to a lot of the other times he crossed. Earlier, for most of the times, he was actually on his 18-yard box, and he was not in an advanced enough position to make a tactical cross. In this position, he was more advanced, so it allowed for Everton to need to figure out how we're going to make space behind. So Coleman was in a relatively advanced position, but he actually was standing still, waiting to time his run to switch directions, and caught, I think it was Charlie Taylor, unaware, and basically waited for Pickford to make that cross. And then right afterwards, where are we? 5:31. So a few seconds later, the ball is now well-paced. Coleman, it just goes over Charlie Taylor's head, knocked off the chest of Coleman. James Garner is kind of ball watching. Ashley Young is realizing his own space is occupied. And you have Doucouré casually running in, but not really accelerating where he needs to be at this position. And DCL is about to tuck in behind Estev in that position. But the problem was Coleman wasn't able to convert quickly. And I think I had one more image which shows where the final positions were. What time was this? 5:36. At 5:38, which was the next one.
I remember this moment actually, but all I was thinking was, why are there so few players getting into the box? Why is it always one defender and one attacker?
Yeah.
Why are we not
James,
trying to overload them, make it horrible for them?
Right, I'm trying to get this to load. It's just taking a second in the back of.
Or cause some confusion there. The run from Doucouré go into the space that Calvert-Lewin's in, and you're kind of switching over and just making it very difficult to defend. It's so wooden. It's like Sabutio. It's like.
Yeah, the next image is decidedly not loading for some reason. But basically what ended up happening, James Garner didn't bust his way in. Doucouré was trying to time his run because I guess they were realizing they're always offside. But Coleman was that in that we had right there, that rare moment. Were you talking about getting behind the line, Ryan? At this moment, you've got O'Shea looking behind himself, going, "Where is everyone?" But Doucouré could have actually not. He could have tucked behind O'Shea and gone to the back post, and that would have been way more effective because O'Shea would not have caught him, and he had the entire field. And he has done that in the past. Goes to the back post and opens up his body off the cross, but he goes into the same position as DCL, and James Garner is just kind of playing zonal. So, yeah, unfortunately. The next slide I had is not loading at the moment, but that's
Coleman
really
what the byline is the right thing to do. And as I said to you before, the cross, pull it back. You maybe have Calvert-Lewin going deep, and Doucouré just hangs back and waits for the ball, which comes behind the defense, which is hard to defend, or goes into that back post, and Coleman chips it to the back post for Doucouré to head home. But it's very predictable, and I think does he just try and do the basic one to the? Was that the one where Calvert-Lewin's beaten at the front post by the other guy, and you're like, why are you not anticipating?
I think so. I was trying to get that image to load.
He holds. I think he takes it a touch too far, and runs out of space with it. And if I'm remembering it correctly, and then he crosses it in low, but late.
So this is the one that I think was annoying to me, but it was also something else that I've been noticing on why we get offside so often. So DCL and Beto approach let's call it crossing and hoofball a little bit differently. What DCL likes to do is come from an offside position and then run back towards the flight of the ball to try and be closer to compete for the header. So you can actually see he's in an offside position before the ball is struck. Gomez, in this case, is actually going to go, as we've said, they always want to go to the back post to then knock it back centrally to try and find that space where DCL would be. So in this case, it's crossed in the right position, and Jared Branthwaite is actually in an offside position. It was really hard to capture this on camera, but Branthwaite was actually offside by a step. Tarky was in that right spot. The ball, I've tried to, it was hard to see off the image, so I did a little squiggle and circle. So the ball's in the air, you can kind of see it with the shadow. They're now busting behind the line, but Branthwaite is the furthest away from, well, he's not in the middle of the defenders. He can see the entire line, and he timed his run wrong. And it was a really deliberate and slow built run up from Gomez, and they couldn't time the run. So occasionally Branthwaite he did some excellent recovery defense, but going forward he wasn't him and Tarky as a combo wasn't working.
He spent the whole game mopping up for Mikalenko's ill position time and time again, and lack of ability to get back and defend all contribute going forward. But in this instance, obviously, he should do better. It must be quite difficult to look, though, at the line and look at when the ball is being played, in fairness.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine of all the players who it should be easier for, because he's the furthest back, he can see the entire line, and his angle to see the ball should be easier than everyone else. So the fact that Tarky, Doucouré, and DCL were able to time it right, and he wasn't, was that it? But it's not. I'm not just picking on Branthwaite here, but I know Branthwaite does really well, and he did a lot of excellent recovery slides. I think when you did his heat map, his average position was arse on the floor sliding and making a recovery tackle. But to credit to him, he was able to do that quite well. And the other thing you mentioned, Ryan, with Mikalenko, it's a little bit tricky where if you're trying to be in advanced position, we don't really want Mikalenko to be staying back on the halfway line, but we want him in those advanced positions. But then we ring on him for not being able to get back in time. It's a bit tricky on would we rather, what of the two options would we rather? Him playing back because every time we do a stupid turnover, Mikalenko, who is in an advanced position, has to run back? Or do we just say, you stay put, and we'll have Coleman advance on the right side instead? Because and I was saying that with Wes, you either want one fullback up and one fullback with the center halves usually, so that you have some balance on your wing play. So that's kind of the challenge I've been trying to mull over. I like Mikalenko advancing, but if he can't get back in time, do we blame the other players for causing stupid turnovers? I'm very comfortable saying that. Or is it that Mikalenko
don't give the ball away when you know your defenders are very high and up the pitch?
Well, yeah, but then, and that's where I don't want to give, if Mikalenko isn't fast enough to get back, then we have to understand that. And it seems that he struggles on the recovery, because there have been there's certainly some other ones I highlighted where Mikalenko was in an advanced position, had to bust to come back, and then it was an emergency save that they nearly scored from off their back post.
Well, hey, Chris, let me ask you this then. Going forward, if they decide to change this tech, swap it, and you're holding Mikalenko back, pushing Seamus up for this long ball approach, swapping Dwight to the right so he can play more centrally, that allows, of course, Danjuma to potentially come in on the left. I'm trying to think through all the steps of this. Does it work? Would it work with Seamus on the right, or does he lack the pace as well now?
So he lacks the recovery pace. I think he's slower than Mikalenko. So you have to, and that's probably why they chose the left side, because you don't, in all reality, this is why we have Nathan Patterson.
Yeah.
Because he has the pace.
Patterson's not good.
Yeah.
Everyone tells me he's not good. And Coleman isn't slow for 35.
Right, but he's slow for Premier League wingers.
Well, they're all slow in their respective positions, most of them. But you take it in turns. Coleman goes forward that time, and when that situation presents itself, it's Mikalenko's time to go forward. It's about balance, and I'm not just going to stand there for 45 minutes as a left back. Modern day fullbacks have got to be able to get forward and defend, and if they can't do that, they're not good enough to play at the Premier League. And for me, neither of them are, because the deficiencies are too apparent, and that's why we are where we are in the league. The best defenders can get forward and get back, understand the position, and they don't give the ball away and leave the team exposed. But what you just said there, Chad, was really interesting about Danjuma on the left. Mikalenko can then be more reserved because he knows Danjuma is very good 1v1. And on the right, McNeil is the right winger out of possession, but in possession can drift off that side because he's got a right full back bombing on, creating that width. Also, what happens is, unfortunately, is your number 10. If you had a very creative number 10 who's a nitty-bitty sort of get on the ball, link the play, almost like Andre Gomez with a bit more leg and goal threat type thing, you know what I'm saying? They drift to that side, then they drift to the other side, and they'd knit the play with the full-back and the opposition winger, create better crossing opportunities, like what we saw with the Coleman one earlier on, and then zip the ball back behind or in front of the defence rather than in the line of the defence, and we would score more goals. But this is never going to happen under this manager because this is just wooden, lethargic, life-sucking style of play. We will never see it under this manager, and that's why I think we need a change in the summer.
Yeah, I agree. Al Clark here on the thread in the comments. This might be a little long to post, but he disagrees with sacking Dyche. He thinks that we'll get relegated if we try to play a different style of football, potentially playing out from the back. There's just no pace or players who can pass. Ed, I can't disagree. That's why I think we're so intrigued by the skill set that Andre Gomez offers, but he's not the same player he was 5-6 years ago. That's evident. He does have quality that a different quality that other people in the squad right now seem to lack. There's just no great options anywhere in the side. So it feels like week after week we're piecing it together and asking questions. What if we do this? What if we do that? Knowing full well that regardless of who's on the pitch, we're going to continue to see the same approach over and over again.
We need 2 fullbacks and 2 wingers, and you have to gamble and say, are we sticking with Beto and Calvert-Lewin, or are we twisting? And then you've got to stick or twist with Decore. So, but I do think if you put 2 really good fullbacks in this team, if you had Baines and Coleman in their prime in this team, we steamroll teams, because the wingers are then kind of auxiliary players who can drift and make things happen. And the width comes from the fullbacks who are just so dynamic. And at the moment, them two are pedestrian. And that right-hand side of Coleman and Young epitomizes everything that's disastrous about this club and why everyone feels sick at the moment, because they've got a combined age of 78 or something like that. This is why I said we have 7 men, because, you've got them players who weren't contributing anything positive, and they're never going to cause a threat for the opposition. That is the worst right-hand side I can recall ever, apart from possibly the Godfrey. There was one the other week, Godfrey Young, which was horrendous as well. That was even...
Yeah, Godfrey Young's probably worse. Actually, no, I think Godfrey as the right fullback with James Garner as the right midfielder would probably be worse. We haven't seen it. James Garner is a better right back option, honestly, because he's got a bit more pace and he has a simpler job, I think.
Young Godfrey's horrendous. And the thing is, he's bought the club. He spent 500 million. He's sitting through all this. It doesn't matter what. That's a disaster. It's gross misconduct in any sort of industry if you're that bad, and that's what you could serve after all this time. If that's what the end result is, it doesn't matter what stadium we play in. We could play in a stadium on the moon, and it wouldn't make a blind bit of difference if we're watching Ashley Young and Seamus Coleman as your wide right partnership.
Yeah, indeed. All right, gents, I'm going to be taking off, but I have one question for you, and I want to try to leave this conversation in an optimistic, hopeful way. So give me something to look forward to. We have Chelsea coming up, Monday Night Football, a week from tomorrow.
We'll beat Chelsea.
You think so?
Yeah, we'll beat Chelsea. Chelsea are just horrendous.
Oh, I
Chelsea
love that.
just drew at home to Sheffield 2-2.
They did. They
But
did.
Sheffield have got nothing to play for, so they're playing with a lot of desire and charisma and character, and that's the same. That's what Luton have. Luton just play without fear. And they get beat, and they win, and they've done remarkable. Luton, considering the size of the club and the players they've got. What we got to look forward to: we'll beat Chelsea. We'll get a draw at home to Liverpool. We'll get battered at Arsenal on the final day. We will get draws at Luton. We'll get draws at Luton, Brentford, and Nottingham Forest. 3 points, 6 points, 7 points. There will be fine. And the best thing to look forward to is a trip back to Jamaica. And no, it's just the season finishing really and regrouping, but hoping and praying that they can't surely succumb us to the 4th successive relegation battle.
No.
Surely
No.
not. I've never.
That
heard
would be
of that.
crazy. That would be sheer incompetence from management.
Have you ever seen a team have like 4 years of completely battling relegation year after year? This size of club, anyway.
And squeaking by
Wasn't
year
Aston
after
Villa?
year.
I forget how many years, but Villa were like that for a while.
Yeah. I know Chad's got to go, and it's very late here in the UK now as well. So
Yeah.
I'm tired. So I don't know if you had any more screenshots.
I mean, I've got a whole bunch more, and I might do just separate little videos and shorts.
Yeah.
You can
All
show
right.
me them if you want.
Yeah. What do we think? What do we think tomorrow? So Ryan, you said you think it'll be a suspended points deduction or a fine. What's your prediction for tomorrow?
I hope it's a fine. I don't think you punish the fans twice in
But
one
who would pay it at this point? Just more debt.
Just give us a fucking £1 million fine and move on.
Yeah.
Call it a luxury tax.
It's all about money at the end of the day. Everything's all about money. So just fine us. I don't think it would do the Premier League the best to give us a 4-point deduction and relegate us. I think it goes against everything they stand for. I'm hoping it'll be maybe a 2-point suspended, because we got 6 points. You could argue we're being punished for the same year with what we've been punished for. So maybe 2 points suspended, but we're going to end up with another breach. Again, it's inevitable. We've got the only accountants in the world. The Mashiri's apparently like a chartered accountant, but he can't count. He has to use an abacus to count to 2. And he was the only student taking his GCSE maths who was allowed to use a calculator when everyone else was told it was a non-calculator exam. That sums him up. He actually is so bad at accounting that rather than try and help you avoid, legally of course, paying tax, he likes to find ways to pay more tax to the government.
He's probably just really good at laundering money coming out of Russia anyway.
I mean, is that what we like 777 now?
He's got nudes of Usmanov.
Oh, man, wouldn't it be something if Usmanov is the one that's behind 777 all along? That would be wild.
I don't know anything about this guy. I don't want to.
I don't. Okay.
He could be a sniper outside the front door.
It could be. All right, Ryan, you're probably off to bed soon. All right, take care.
Good night, Chad. Lovely to speak with you again. Keep smiling, mate.
Be good.
All right.
What a great addition to the channel. I told you, just like yourself, Chris. Go on, show me some of these boring screenshots. Go on. The
boring ones. All right. So I'm trying to. I've blanked exactly on the setup here, but we were at 12:39. Everton setup. I think we were looking at some of the press options. We have again, just we were talking as well on, and you probably noticed this when we were talking at the end of the match, why Everton was so frustrating to watch. They weren't bothering to press or put pressure on Burnley's players. Burnley had quite a few. They progressed up the pitch a lot more and had left the back quite exposed. I think they usually only had 2 or 3 people back, and this was a kind of an interesting view here of one of the times that I think Everton they didn't. And I was talking to Chad about this. We strategized the press. Because if you charge ahead too often, then you get then they won't try to take you on. So you want to give them a bit of a false sense of security on how, and sometimes you don't just completely spring it on them. Sometimes you decide to kind of push them to the edge or push them to a flank. So what you would get. Oh, 1 second here. I've got too many slides in the background. It won't let me launch more. 3.
It's a 4-4-2 defensive.
Oh, it's not loading.
4-4-2 defensive shape. We mixed it up with sometimes pressing, often not quite man for man, leaving just one option for Burnley to play out. I noticed that when the goalkeeper took the goal kicks, Burnley would try and play out, and we would almost go man for man, but they'd still always find a spare man somewhere, which meant maybe we didn't quite have enough players in the press. And then when they got past a certain period, maybe in this situation as well, or got past that press, we dropped into 2 banks of 4, and Decore plays as a second striker. What other screenshots have you got?
So I was trying. Some of the PowerPoint slides are not coming through. So this one actually,
can we not drag
the
these
next
players live?
Sorry.
In that software, does it not let you like drag the players and move and show other positions where you could put them?
I'll have to show you if maybe there's a way to do that. I've just been taking screenshots before my laptop decides to blow up in some blaze of glory if I do that live. But with this one, what they actually ended up doing is using, I think it was Charlie Taylor was in an advanced position. Ashley Young basically said, well, they're going that way, and it wasn't effective for them. What else we got? So this was an opportunity that I think was very much when we're talking frustrating. There was a long ball and it was the second ball ended up being won by Everton, and there was a header added into space right there where you had Dwight McNeil and James Garner as potential players to receive. So after the ball was won, Dwight McNeil now is on the ball. There's a lot of space for Burnley, who are quite deep, where it all led back from who won the header, which was DCL, who's advanced up on that side. So McNeil has the ball. James Garner's now rushing forward, and Mikolenko sees a lot of space because Assignon is quite central. So then the next problem or next thing here to consider was, okay, so what next? And then you go, all right, so we've now migrated up the pitch. James Garner has realized he's kind of ran into a trap. Mikolenko is incredibly high up the pitch here, and there are at least two passing lanes.
Brave.
Yeah, so this is where Mikolenko is getting burnt for taking risk, because the ball gets turned over, and then we're going to say Mikolenko can't defend right
but that
after
pass
this.
There to Decore is the pass that's on. It's on his left foot.
Yeah, or you slightly hit it harder to Mikolenko, and he strikes it with his left foot as well. But you could go right behind. I think it's Estev, the one with the orange boots, marking DCL.
You're gonna tell me
there are two clear options.
You know what he did?
He struck it. He tried to shoot, and it was blocked.
Piss off.
So that's what happened here. So
that's why I was furious with him in this game. And the Everton official Twitter was giving him a lot of credit for running and pressing, but I think that's the bare minimum.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, McNeil was making the wrong decisions on the ball that hurt us.
Yeah, all of them are making bad decisions time and time again.
Yeah, outside of about Gomez and maybe DCL from time to time. But what that led to is there was a turnover, and now Everton are desperately trying to get back in position. Mikolenko has done a lot of running.
I remember this moment.
Assignon has the ball, and Everton, relatively speaking, are getting back. But this is a pretty. I think it was. Is it Lyle Foster on that side is progressing?
We've got more than enough players to handle this situation.
Yeah, but but anytime in terms of difficult to defend, or we're saying if everyone's running with backs to goal, these are the types of situations that are hard to defend for both teams. And Everton don't do well in these opportunities, but they decide to pass out wide, and you'll see that here, and it goes past Branthwaite. Mikolenko goes with
no one's marking
the player
anyone.
who passed, and he knocked it past Branthwaite in this case, and Mikolenko is going in for a recovery save, but we're now Tarky's blocking the space, Coleman is now left kind of in a vulnerable position, and if they cross quick enough to the back post, we're in trouble.
Scores.
But lucky for us, I guess when you're running at pace and pressured on the ball, that doesn't always work out. So let me bring up the next image. I was trying to bring up all these before I ran out of time before going live. So we have the next one.
James
processing.
Tarkowski. Has he got Polish ancestry or something?
I think he does, yeah. So now he went back in. Mikolenko tried to chase, and he had to spun on a dime, and unfortunately, kind of overran the ball while sprinting back. And then they're going for a far field cross, but it goes right off Tarkowski's head at this point. So if successfully able to cross the back post, I think they could easily have scored right here, but they didn't. So let me bring up the next image.
If they hit that to the back post or behind Coleman.
Yeah. So about 3 seconds later,
I don't think I can do many more screenshots, Chris, because it's just too late here in the UK.
Yeah, cool. Basically what it ended up doing is you headed it back to the outside of the box.
It's poor from Brentford, that Burnley, isn't it?
Yeah, because they really could have just crossed it to the back post and made life easier, but it was poor. It deflected to the outside of the box, and Brun Larson shanked it over the top, and that's why they looked dangerous, but Everton got lucky a lot. So
Burnley definitely carried threat, and on another day they would have beaten us. I think that's all I can contribute tonight, just because it's 11:30 and I'm starting to feel really, really tired. I was at Mabsy's 40th birthday yesterday, so happy birthday to Andrew, Mr. Mabs, Park End Goodison. He's 40 tomorrow on Monday, so congrats to him. Aussie Chris, by all means, if you can be bothered continuing. If not, let's catch up another day. I'm going to get my head down.
I think we'll do that, and I might do some little snippets of these, like a little short for like 2 minutes, and go over one at a time rather than on this live stream, and then people can see them separately.
It's my fault. I came on and dragged it out with talking.
You've got your new mic and setup, so you're just super excited to do that.
Well, this is just convenient. This is just because I've got a laptop, and the camera on it is okay. It's passable for jumping on a stream and the headset. So I'm still going to get my old office with my proper mic and backdrop and lights and stuff, which is just 10 times better than this. But this just will allow me to contribute a bit more in certain situations. Good night.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everyone.